This is Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and today we are joined by Tim Nowak from Perry & Company Realtors. Tim, how are you doing?
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me. I'm great. Long-time listener, first-time attendee.
I love it. So, you reached out and we kind of connected and we started talking about stuff. And, I appreciated you tuning in and checking it out. And, let me ask you, what made you, want to come on the show? I'm very humbled and honored to have you, but what made you want to come on?
Well, I have a lot of admiration for those that are doing video. I saw your videos and really enjoyed them. I'm a relocation director here at Perry & Company Realtors in Denver, Colorado. And last summer I did a video series called Tim's Top 10.
And what was Tim's Top 10 about?
Tim's Top 10 was me visiting my favorite venues in the Denver area. Sometimes they were places just to see. Sometimes they were restaurants. Sometimes they were outdoor spaces because we have
a phenomenal idea, by the way. Phenomenal, especially for a realtor that's hyper local.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks so much. And so I'm involved with Relocation Directors Council, but I'm not as involved, with some of the people that attend ERC. So I wanted to, meet some more of those in our industry. I'm involved with our local ERC chapter, Rocky Mountain Relocation Council. But again, just a lot of admiration for what you do. And I think this is such a great platform to get to know others in our industry, since we all live, sometimes far apart. So I'm just honored that you invited me to be a guest.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you. And I think the real estate voice, I've been lacking in that, and I'm glad to have you on because I have a lot of questions about real estate. The relocation industry in a lot of ways is driven by the real estate market. It's the single largest ticket for real estate policies include home sale. And so I think it's super important to talk about. Real quick, I want to welcome all the people that are watching us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube right now. If you're watching us right now, stop what you're doing. I want you to leave a comment, give Tim a shout out, okay? I want you to also let me know where you're watching us from, the name of your company. I want to give you a shout out live on the air here. And of course, if you have any questions about relocation, real estate, you want to throw us a curveball, you want to ask Tim something about Denver, let them rip, okay, everybody? So go ahead and check in. So far, we've got Robert Vespa, greetings from Houston, Tim. Hey, Kelly Duran, hey, Kelly from Shift in Phoenix. Kelly's throwing a little cactus on there.
Hey, awesome.
Kelly. So going real quick, we'll let people kind of check in here and get on, but talking about real estate, you get to meet people and you get exposed to people's private lives, similar to us in the moving business.
Right.
I would love to know, just some insight. You got any crazy real estate stories?
I do. So we had a referral come through, and this was from a broker connection, so it wasn't a corporate opportunity, but a referral came through from an individual moving from the Midwest last year. And for the first 2 months, this person didn't know if they were going to complete the move. Denver's an expensive place, and there's a lot of sticker shock when people arrive here. And so, our agent spent about 2 months just doing, we'll call property and area orientation, right? Getting to know the different areas. And so I check in frequently with my agents. And after about a month of that, I was talking to the agent and I said, so how's it going? I'd love your honest feedback. And they said, well, honestly, I'm not sure what to make of it because this person has had several breakdowns in my car, and I'll be there.
Like emotional breakdown, not car trouble.
Okay. And I said, well, you're the right person for this, and that's absolutely, we want to be there for them. It's a stressful time. We know that. A lot of us are, well, all of us are,
Sure.
are homeowners on our team, and we know what it's like. A lot of us have relocated, actually, myself included, and so it's challenging. And so about a month later, this person went under contract in a new build home, thinking that it's all going to work out. They're going to have their mile high dream life, and we go through the process of building the home, 8 months, go down the road. We're about 2 to 3 weeks out from closing. And this individual who moved was in a relationship back in the city of origin as well. And all of a sudden they reached out and said, hey, you know what? I've decided I want to go back to my old life. They had sold their home though, so they'd have to, buy a new home there or rent a new home there. And I just went out of the contract, make it happen. And, they
were building a new house and they were a few weeks away from having it completed.
Yeah.
An 8-month process. And they said, nah, forget it.
So all of your money has gone hard at this point. So, we're like, well, I don't know what we can
How much hard money did they have? Give us an idea.
I think it was $50,000 to $60,000 had gone hard at this point. So, it's a big financial investment for this person.
$50,000 or $60,000, and I'm just gonna change my mind.
Yes, exactly. Make it happen. Get me my money back. And so, we're kind of in a panic mode because per the contract, there's really nothing that can sustain it. So the only thing that was left was a loan objection, which, this person was in a great position financially. So it was going to be hard to make a case for that. So we went through a series of calls, emails, letters to the builder, myself, the agent over the period of about a week or so, and personal meetings as well. And finally the builder said, we'll keep the $10,000 earnest deposit and we'll release the $50,000 to $60,000 down payment.
Wow.
And we couldn't believe it because
you did that? You got them their 50 or 60K back?
Absolutely. And then they wanted to stay friends with us after, which was cool, so we made a friend. But after a year's time, or almost a year's time, 10 months in total, 2 months of searching, 8 months under contract, there was nothing that came to fruition. So it's an example of how you can work really hard on something for a long period of time and not have that transaction.
You know what? I mean, so I talked about this in one of my podcasts on the Gross Up though about hard work, right? And sometimes when we bust our ass like that and then it doesn't come through for us and we're like, what did I do? Why did I waste so much time? This wasn't worth it. This is a real bummer. I'm a fan of the saying, hard work is never wasted.
Absolutely.
Right? And you worked hard there for that person and it just didn't work out and through no fault of your own. But I believe somehow, some way you became a better professional, a better person from that and learned all sorts of life experiences that you can apply in the future. I mean, is that a possibility?
Oh, definitely. So I always say, if you're good at what you do and you work hard, success will come. Does that mean every transaction will be successful? Absolutely not. Right. There's always going to be those challenges, and that's real estate. A lot of transactions you work really hard on, or a lot of files you work really hard on, may never come to fruition. But you have to go into it with the mindset that you're there to help people.
My dad just chimed in. I love when my dad chimes in.
I do too.
My time in the mortgage business was filled with such situations.
Yeah.
Well, my dad, because he loves the hard way of doing things. He used to focus on populations that didn't have great credit, or maybe they were in a domestic abuse situation. They were trying to get out into a house or something like that. And he was always working on problem situations. So he's kind of a numbskull like that, but yeah, that's probably where I get it from.
Well, one of our largest mortgage brokers in our office focuses on video production as their way to delve into business. They don't even sell their mortgage program. That's sort of, how they get their business. So it's very, I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. How do you use video to get business? Cause I really could use some of that.
Sure. So we're a member of leading real estate companies of the world. So a lot of our referral network is all over the nation. So last year, our mid-year conference was held here in Denver. And I wanted to get people really excited about coming to Denver. I've lived here for almost 10 years. I moved here right after school, which I can chat about as well. But I've really fallen in love with it. It's a great city. I love living here. So I wanted to get everyone else excited. So I did my Tim's Top 10. And when I was thinking about what to do, I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to do something that my competition is not doing, or not doing the way I would do it, and then go from there. And that's how me and my team decided on Tim's Top 10 and went around and did this and sent it to the sphere, because if I'm excited about something, hopefully that excitement will show through the camera and they will get excited.
Yeah. So let me ask you here. So you took these Tim's top 10, which I think is just a brilliant idea, especially when you're trying to showcase your knowledge of the local area, right? Which is really, I think, one of the key things you're looking for in a real estate representative, right? And you sent that to, you said the sphere of influence. That's a term that you use in real estate a lot, but and in other kinds of sales, insurance sales as well. But did you send it to the relocation sphere, or did you send it to like the local sphere of influence? Like, how did you leverage that messaging?
Sure. So I did a couple different ways. I sent it to my sphere and leading RE, Relocation Directors Council, nationally. I sent it, we promoted it locally as an organization. And then after, we released one each week from June 12th, I think it was, to August 14th, 10 weeks throughout the summer. And then the last week of the summer before Labor Day, kind of a seasonal guy, what can I say? I released it on my Facebook and LinkedIn, Netflix style, to everybody that last week in my sphere. And that's how I did it.
And you released every episode all at the same time so people could binge watch it?
Yeah.
Nice. Netflix. Yeah. I love it. Got some more people checking in here. Rory Ramirez, good afternoon from Mini Moves in Broadview, Illinois. Keeping the streak alive, Rory. Appreciate you.
Right.
Mark Nelson, Wichita Falls, Texas.
Good afternoon, Martin.
Olivia Barami, CERC Relocation Specialist. Happy hump day to you both. Olivia from Toronto checking in with Prime Communications. Love the emoji. Jamie Massler, hi, Ben and Tim. Cheers from Warren, Mississippi. He always says Warren, Mississippi. He's always rubbing it in, you know?
I feel like Mississippi still gets quite cold. I'm from Missouri, just a little bit further to the north. So
okay. What's the weather like out there in Denver right now?
It's beautiful. It's sunny and 64 today. So having a great day. But in the spirit of Denver, it could snow next week. So
are there any particular challenges with Denver? So when we're looking at relocation, right? And we're looking at Denver, and I'm hearing a lot about Denver right now. It's a very hot market. Am I correct in that? Yeah. And what are some of the challenges you're seeing with Denver, and how does it compare to some of the other metros that are out there for our mobility people and our RMC folks that are watching right now?
Absolutely. So Denver is one of the most expensive markets that doesn't touch a coast. That's a big challenge. It's inland. And, we're not like a city like Chicago, which is also another expensive inland market. We don't have the space. We have the mountains to the west, which cuts us off quite a bit. The other thing I like to share is, so the average home price in Denver is between $450,000 and $500,000, and the average income. So to afford a house like that, with a minimum down payment, the average income would be the income needed would be approximately $85,000 to $90,000 a year, whereas the average Denver income is approximately $55,000 a year. So, obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but that shows you the average person cannot afford the average home price, which presents some challenges.
I would even think that average income of 85 to 90 would have to be in a 2-income home, or 2-income, because I don't even know if you could afford that, 80, 90.
It would be. And there's a lot of people that aren't in that place, which means there's a lot of challenges. People fall in love with it and they move here and they know what they want to buy, or they have an idea of what they want to buy and what they want to have. And then they realize they can't get that here for the price they thought they could. And that's a challenge.
What do they do?
Well, there's a lot of different things. Sometimes people will rent for the first 6 to 12 months to really learn the city, make sure it's a good fit for them, know that when they do make that investment, it's got to be something that they really love, and it's an area that they love, and that the commute works for them, because we do have some challenges with being a growing city with the infrastructure. Traffic is challenging. The other thing is you have to appreciate the Denver area for what it has to offer. The sunny days that you're going to have, the outdoor space. So maybe you do some downsizing and you buy a place that maybe doesn't have the square footage size that you want, but you love other aspects about living here.
And you live outdoors more.
You live outdoors. Yeah. There's so many weekends throughout the year that you can spend at the park. There's very few times, maybe December and January, I don't know, that you can't go to the park on the weekend. I laugh about that because I like to spend the summer at the pool, but I like to go to the park on the weekends and go running. And I rarely have a weekend where I can't do that.
So, I mean, that's one of the things I did when I moved to Detroit is I rented for about a year and then I bought, and because I didn't know where I wanted to live. I didn't understand the neighborhoods. I didn't know all the ins and outs, right? But now, so going to renters though, and this is something that came up recently on one of our guests brought this up about rental assistance. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think Anne talked about it yesterday, and I'm
excited
to come on today because I wanted to chat about it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, for renters, I feel like this is an enormously underserved population. We kind of talk about them with disdain and their quirky little desires, and our programs aren't tailored to fit them because we want big, juicy household goods moves and homeowners, and and then these pesky renters, and squeaky wheels, millennials, all these bad words we call them. What are you seeing out there? What kind of services are you offering? What are you seeing? What's best practice around rental assistance?
For us, it's about building the relationship. So we never turn anyone away, whether, they're going to be a customer that can pay or not. We're here for the relationship. And especially if it's coming from one of our valued RMCs, we're just excited to be a part of that account, of that relationship. So we always help with a renter. I am always here to do a needs assessment. I'm always here to help with Tim's top 10, if you will.
So I'm a renter. I come to Denver, my company's, working with your company. What type of an experience am I going to get? What type of a benefit typically do I get?
Sure, as a renter. I want to know that you're always going to have your hand held the entire time. You're going to start out with a communication from myself, whether it be an initial call, emails to begin with, and then just getting an idea of where you're at. What do you want to know about our city before you even identify where you want to live? Or if you kind of know what you want already, let's talk about a few areas that might benefit you. Of course, we want our transferee, you cannot, in real estate, you cannot steer anyone. You want them to kind of identify where they want to be, but you want to really give them that orientation to the city, talk about what I talk about what I love within the city, and all of our agents on the team who help know that we work with everybody from those that are selling, those that are purchasing, and those that are renting, because we do see it as a long-term relationship that we want to continue. Even if
I feel like as a real estate agent, you're kind of like a life coach, but maybe as a rental assistance specialist, you're kind of like a travel guide, right? You're like, hey, I'm not buying, I'm not settling down here. I'm not necessarily looking for school districts and, appreciation on my property. Instead, I'm really looking for quality of life.
Absolutely. And so we talk about that. What are you looking for? Do you want to get to the mountains right away? Do you need to get to the airport quicker? I think you had shared that you felt our airport is really far from everything.
That Pena airport, that Pena guy, I tell you what, somebody's got to look into that, because them buying all that land between the downtown and the airport, there's something nefarious going on there. But anyway,
it's quite a drive. It has its own freeway, right? So if you're going to travel a lot and you need to get to the airport quickly, you might consider living on the eastern part of Denver. But if you want to ski every weekend, November through April, then you might want to be on the west side, closer to the highway, closer to the Front Range, so you can head up the hill pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I never had rental assistance, and I've rented a lot. Okay, and I've actually just bought my first house, but I've lived in like 5 states or whatever.
Awesome.
But I would always drop a pin at the office, give myself a 15 or 30-minute, radius, and then just get on like, rent.com or something like that.
Yeah, which you can totally do the search. Yeah.
But I mean, that's like such an uncurated experience. I mean, that's kind of a low summer's experience, right? But I imagine with a professional realtor, you're getting a lot more context and things like that. Well, and I mean, I'm assuming you also probably have access to a lot more tools and maybe even listings than I would just get on an internet search.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our MLS. One of the things that I love about Perry is we're a very collaborative group. We have a sales meeting every week where we talk about our wants and needs. So I can talk about what I'm looking for. Sam, I'm looking for a rental. I can give the specifications and ask if anyone else thing in their wheelhouse that they know about. There's a lot of pocket listings, pocket rentals out there. And sometimes there will be someone that'll raise their hand and say, hey, Tim, I have something in mind for you. Let's
Tim,
chat.
I got to stop you. What is a pocket rental? It sounds kind of dirty. What is it? I don't understand what that means.
It's something that has not yet hit the market. So maybe someone has a friend that's like, gosh, I just got transferred and I don't want to sell my place because I love Colorado and I'll probably come back, but I really want a quality renter and I don't want to just put an ad on the internet. I want this to be sort of handled, with care. And they say, great, let me put the word out with my sphere.
Got it. Pocket rental. All right. So let's see here. We got some folks checking in here with us. Stephen Meyer, ARPN driver, Wilmington, North Carolina. Keep on trucking there, Stephen. Stay safe, buddy. Brad Hamlin, good afternoon from Relocation America International in Detroit. I love you, Brad.
Good afternoon.
Oded Carmi checking in as usual from lukewarm Boston. Oh, God. Julie Coleman. Hey, Ben, joining from Sugar Land, Texas. Hey, Julie. Welcome to the program. Julie's a friend of mine. She's down there at Shell in Houston. She was kind enough to sit on a panel for us and talk to us about the corporate point of view on moving. We got to get Julie on the show one day. Don't you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
I really do. I need more corporate mobility managers on the show to give us that perspective.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this now and you manage a corporate mobility program or you know somebody that does, please DM me because I'd love to hear your point of view and give your voice a platform. Aaron Flores, yes, underserved for sure. Talking about renters. Aaron Flores is from Victory Relo in Dallas. Victoria McCullough, hi. Victoria from Dallas with Cardis. Hey, Victoria, how's it going? So going here, we talk about in every service vertical, we're always talking about high levels of customer service, right? Movers talk about it. Temp housing talks about it. Realtors talk about it. I kind of roll my eyes sometimes because, frankly, we all talk about how great we are and the high quality of service. But what does that really mean in real estate?
I think it's being very responsive. If you email or text or call someone, you need a response pretty quickly. And in our industry, there's so much competition that if you're not willing to do that, someone else will. It may take you a few tries to find that person, but someone else will. So you want to be the person people choose. So that's really, I think, how you deviate yourself from the competition. A little bit of a shout out to one of your previous guests, Jennifer Breen with Home Sweet Home Chicago. I think she really touched on it, that very high level of responsiveness and communication, whether it's after hours on the weekend, really being there for your transferees and for your team is important.
How do you actually achieve that, though? Because, that's really hard to do, right? We talk about work-life balance.
Right.
We talk about, all sorts of things. How do you meet transferees and especially consumers, when and where they want to be met?
Right. Well, the nice thing is we do have a team. So usually there's someone that's able to work within that schedule. So we always try and honor that. The other nice thing is you don't get as many requests for meetings later in the evening. So I think everyone is able to kind of have some of that downtime later in the evening. Sometimes you get those emails. A lot of us have everything tied to our phones. So we always see it as soon as it comes in, which makes it easy to work hard, but then work-life balance is a challenge. What I do is I take my calendar, right, every year at the beginning of the year, so the first few days of January, and I look at the 12 months and I kind of make notes of what I have professionally, because most of my professional conferences and things like that are on the calendar nearly a year in advance. And then I also look at, our busy season, which for mobility is the summer, and I think about our weather here, and I try and schedule like 2 or 3 trips so that I can do something fun and like have that break, have that work-life balance. As a millennial, I'm all about it. And then I kind of strategically schedule, my yoga and some of my workouts and some of the things I like to do locally as well, so that I always have something to look forward to, even if it's something small, because I think it's so easy to get caught up in that day-to-day grind, but you need to make time for yourself.
What you're talking about is like a proactive and intentional approach
to
managing your time, right? And I think so many of us get caught in reactive mode, right?
Yeah.
And, oh, my email just dinged, let me go check it. Oh, my phone dinged, let me go check it. Oh, things are happening, fires are going on. We always talk about fires, like people have never actually seen a real fire, by the way, but people talk about everything's on fire all the time, right? But going back to, speaking of fires, going back to what we were talking about response time, I think this is something that's underreported or under discussed, is this whole need for responsiveness right here. And I think it's one of the reasons that service providers in the mobility space are losing to consumer products and services, because consumer products and services understand urgency is table stakes.
Totally.
And we kind of think, because we have these contractual relationships and we have a 24-hour commitment in our SLAs, and I called and I left a voicemail. I go, man, you know how many times I hear, oh, well, I left a voicemail, LMTC, or LMVTC, left voicemail, LVMTC, left voicemail to call. I used to see that note on files all the time, and I'm just like, nobody checks their voicemail. Like, nobody calls people back off voicemail. Half of phone calls are robocalls. Like, you have to get somebody on the phone and be speaking to them, or have them returning a text message for you to even count, as you've actually reached out to somebody. And I think that it's so important for us as mobility service providers to understand that we have to really up our game in a big way when it comes to responsiveness. I mean, is there technology that you use out there that maybe we could borrow or something? Or, anything you could suggest to us, Tim?
Really, it's just email, telephone, and text, right? Making sure your voicemail is cleared out so no one ever calls and hears the voicemail is full and you can't leave a message.
Guilty.
Okay. All that says to me is you don't, how responsive are you? Because you haven't checked your voicemail. So are there other voicemails waiting in there that you haven't checked? I think when I hear that, it just, I had that happen last week where I was trying to reach someone that had contacted our company, and they had said, I've been trying to reach, pairing company. And I called them back right away, sent them an email. And that's, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, well, I can't leave them a voicemail. I can send them a text and leave them and send them an email and keep trying until I reach them. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. Text, are you guys using text a lot?
Yeah, you see it a lot. I don't ever start out that way. It depends. So like my agents will text a lot more. I always start out with a phone call and email. Those are the two that I prefer, because an email, I think it just keeps it more organized. It's date and time stamped. You can file it away. You can store it a lot easier, for later. On occasion, I still feel like I don't like to text someone unless I have to. Some people are very funny about it. If it's a business contact, I like to wait until they either initiate the text relationship or they request it, or I really need to reach them urgently. And I think that's sort of another soft wave introduction. But I also want to be respectful of people's personal time. I think you had a guest on the show. It might have been Susan from +RELO that said people want to be reached when they want to be reached. So if I've left them a voicemail and sent them an email or two, I don't want to then text, because maybe they don't want to hear from me 3 times. Maybe that's too much for them.
Yeah, maybe. I'm the opposite. I'm like, if my team hasn't tried the text option, I'm like, you haven't really tried, because how would you get a hold of 90% of the people in your life right now?
It probably is text. And that being said,
you really know in real life. Like if you and I want to go grab a drink or go have lunch or whatever, you're probably going to text me, right?
Yeah, I may send you an email first, but I probably would end up texting you, especially like if you're at a conference and trying to meet up. A text is just much easier than an email. Sometimes a bit quicker for responding.
Yeah. Aaron Flores chimes in here asking what type of communication is preferred is a big part of leveling up the EE experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something that we could do a better job. I'll say at my company, asking. I think we always assume, email, phone call, text in that order, and we really stay away from text because it's still kind of new for us, and we don't have a great way to house those messages, to show that we actually did it, and that people can follow up on. A couple other people chiming in here. We use Check It to contact customers if they do not answer. That was Rory. Oh, it went away. How did it go away? Did you delete that? Rory, put it back. Technology. Jamie Massler, I've seen some text nightmares where the person was thinking they were texting someone else and sent an inappropriate message.
Yep, there's always that too, because people think texts are personal still. That's at least how I am. When I get a text, I'm thinking it's from a friend or a family member, maybe not, a client or a transferee. So that's how I think it registers in our mind, and I think that's how those, mishap texts happen, unfortunately.
I'm gonna tell a text story, just because why not?
Yeah.
So I had, and this was in Denver actually, so this is
Oh yeah.
somewhat relevant. Long time ago at a company far, far away that I worked for, we had a crew out. This again is not this company. We had a crew out there, and we got a call day 2 that complaint that one of the crew members was smoking weed on the job.
Sure.
I mean, it's Denver, right? I mean, I don't even know if that's illegal, right? And so anyway, so we get this complaint, and of course, all hell breaks loose. Everybody's like, "What? Oh my goodness, I can't believe it! They should be fired and hung, and tarred and feathered, and we're gonna lose this account and this and stuff, right?" And so I mean, that's pretty atomic. And so of course, I call out there. And I'm like, what's going on, and I can't believe I heard this, and this is ridiculous. I want all these guys drug tested right now, rah. And it turns out that the transferee had texted the movers a bunch of inappropriate pictures and suggestive things that she was into, and apparently she was just upset with him about that he rebuffed her advances. And so she called in like this complaint about him.
Yeah.
So texting saved the day. That's my point. The whole point of this thing is save your text messages.
Oh, totally. And there are apps out there. I know we talked to our agents about that too, in our local contract service, CTM, where you store your contract documents. There are ways to store all your texts as well. And we say this should be stored as part of your record for the file, even if you think it's just banter or quick conversation, it should definitely be stored. So that's good to hear. It's so funny how that all goes down. So
in real estate, there's a lot of things that are changing. I mean, real estate, big transportation's going through a lot of disruption, but real estate is right up there as far as disruptions going on. What kinds of trends are you seeing right now?
Well, we're seeing a lot of discount brokers. We're seeing a lot of individuals that are branching out on their own, starting their own groups and offices and things like that, go out on their own. And it's a challenge. There's so many agents. I mean, gosh, even those Zillow leads go out to like 10 or 20 agents at a time, right? Can you imagine if you're at home clicking pictures on a property that you're looking at just because you enjoy looking at homes on a Friday evening or what have you, and then all of a sudden you get 20 calls out of nowhere? It's crazy. So we're seeing that, and the traditional model is changing. So I think that you always have to know that you are working very hard, you're operating with integrity, and you're taking care of your customer, no matter what that customer looks like, that because you have someone else that will if you don't.
Yeah, I walk into some of these real estate offices because we network locally here, with all types of real estate agents for referrals.
Totally.
And we go in there, and it's like a boiler room.
Yeah.
Everybody's got headsets on, and everybody's hooked up to a dialer, and they're buying massive amounts of leads, and it's a real churn kind of atmosphere. And I don't know if that's sustainable. Leads are expensive. Is this a viable thing, or is this a bubble?
I think that look at the conversion rate of leads is very low. It's only a couple of percentages. If you look at all the leads programs out there, I don't think you're going to find many people, at least I haven't, that sign on to a leads program and convert a large percentage of those leads. You might get some good ones, but at the most part, look at where they're getting them. Internet leads. There are other sort of programs that scrub your leads that work a little bit better. So I don't think it's necessarily sustainable. I think that if you're willing to see it for what it is, use those leads to sort of open yourself up to a new sphere. Because for every person you meet, right? So say you have a successful lead that closes, say it's 1 out of 100. That one person may refer you to their coworker, their friend, their family member, and that's a new sphere of business. It's someone new you can add to your marketing and begin that engagement with.
So it's really a way for a lot of new realtors to grow a book of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And learn. You can't really learn until you have that experience. So it's a way to get that experience, whether the lead goes anywhere or not. It's still that contact. It's still someone that you're meeting. So I think it is a great way to start your business, and a great way to, add to your marketing list. If you're a new agent and you want to get going with your business, and maybe you have some ideas of how you're going to market yourself and promote yourself, but you need the contacts to do it, this is a great way to support that. And before we get too far, Ben, I wanted to ask you a question, one of the few questions I had for you. What is your opinion, you being in the moving and storage industry, what is your opinion of real estate professionals? What is the first thought that comes to mind? And this can be good or bad.
There's a million of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I talked to our sales team and stuff in here, and we're like, okay, we're going to start networking with real estate professionals. It's like everyone and their mother is a real estate professional.
Yeah.
And I swear a lot of them just got their license to sell their own house.
Yeah, some people do.
And then they keep it just to sell their sister's house.
Yeah.
And every 4 years they sell a house, or they're between jobs. So like, I'm going to go be a real estate agent, And so for us, it's about finding the ones that are truly engaged.
Yeah.
And that have made a career out of this. And then, of course, finding them at a point in their career before they've really solidified who their network of trusted resources are. And while they're big enough and they're actually making, having listings and buying and selling homes, but yet they're not big enough where they're too big and too busy, to meet new people, So there's a lot of noise in the real estate space.
There is.
I'm going to turn it around on you, Tim, and ask you, what's your impression of movers?
I think that they're very hardworking people. I think there is also a lot of competition and disruption because, we're seeing that baby boomer generation that, hauls the China sets coast to coast, right? And then you see the millennials like me that are, maybe can't quite afford their dream home. So they're buying something that has a little bit less square footage for quality of life, work-life balance, whatever the reason may be. And they don't have as many possessions. Personally, I'm a little bit of a minimalist, just to be totally honest. So I don't have a lot of possessions because that's not something that necessarily brings me joy. Maybe that's a little too Marie Kondo for
I was going to say Marie Kondo over here.
Yeah, no, I really like what she has to say, and I've really kind of adapted that a little bit. But so I always wonder with movers, obviously there's always going to be a big need for that. But I think you did an episode with your colleague Angelo a few weeks ago where you're calling all these people and you have all these movers that are hawking business here to there, that aren't necessarily of vetted quality because they're just trying to grab business where they can. I worry about the shift from that baby boomer to millennial, and then again, there's always those nuanced details. When someone's moving, is it paid for? Are they paying on their own?
Well, I think, and I'm a millennial too, right? So
right.
I'm always a millennial apologist.
Yeah.
But I think that millennials might trust the internet too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think so. We go from boomers who are like, hey, I don't trust the internet for anything. I got a guy for that.
Yeah.
And unless I know somebody that knows somebody, I don't talk to nobody. Okay.
Sure.
And then you got millennials who are like, what do you mean? I don't need to know anybody. I'll just Google it. Right. Yeah. And those are the two ends of the spectrum here. Right. And I think somewhere in the middle is the answer. Right. And totally. I think it's like, try to build a network of people you trust. And when you don't have that, Google it. But don't over rely on Google,
Yeah.
It's like going to Wikipedia for all your information, don't do it, because there's always gonna be some hardworking scammer out there that's going to be the first person you find on Yelp, on Google, on whatever. And that's true for your industry and my industry.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I found, as as I'm a millennial first time homeowner, I would be going on I'm 2 years in now to this noble experiment of home ownership, right? I'm on the
Right.
pathway to wealth. I'm living the American dream.
Absolutely.
And so as I'm doing this, I'm buying all these home services now, right? So I get a painter, I get a landscaper, I got a fertilizer. I got 4 people working on my lawn, okay, and it still doesn't look great. I'm going through all these. I'm getting all these services brought to me, right? And I'm using, for the most part, the internet, right? Not for my realtor, not for my mover, but for everything else, I'm using Yelp or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that I can negotiate a super cheap price if I call enough places and I use my powers of persuasion.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I truly do get what I pay for. And sometimes you can over negotiate a deal, like, and to the point where the end product is garbage. Like a painter. I had a painter. I got streaks in the wall. I got chips in the trim. It's going over 3 days. Like, there's bleed here and there, whatever. And I guess my point is, like, the same thing's true with a mover. The same thing's true with a realtor. You call enough places, you'll find somebody to drop their commission. You call enough places, you'll find somebody that tells you, yes, you're moving 2,000 pounds and it's $200, whatever you want. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah.
And that's where you really need a trusted advisor who can tell you what's BS and what's not.
Yeah.
And that's I think also kind of where our mobility industry is going right now, because as we rush into lump sum is basically saying, let's turn mobility into a consumer program. But when you do that, you lose all this trusted advice. You lose guys like you and me who are smart about things. You lose all this institutional wisdom from the hardworking women and men in this business who have been doing this for 30 years. And I hate to see that not being utilized.
Totally. I mean, you get what you pay for, right? And talking about those lump sums, it's true. Where's the value add there? People really do want that, whether it's a baby boomer or a millennial. They want value in anything that they're going to spend their time in. I think for maybe millennials, it's a little bit more time-based than money-based. They value that work-life balance, so they don't want to spend their valued free time having to do something if they can have that taken care of for them.
And going back to something we talked about before about responsiveness, right? So I have a theory about this, okay?
Yeah.
And feel free to stop me, Tim. If you're like, Ben, I don't want to talk about this anymore. This is your
topic. It's a really good topic because I have something to add to it later. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that there's a mental state we go into, and it's like I'm in get it done mode, right? I'm in moving mode. I'm in realtor mode. I'm in house painter mode. I live my life trying not to think about or worry about my landscape until my wife makes me worry about it. Totally. And that's usually it's Saturday at 10 a.m. And she's like, you gotta get this fixed. And I'm like, all right, fine. Landscape mode. Okay. Now I'm in landscape mode. Okay. Nothing else. Don't talk to me, kids. I'm in landscape mode. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to watch college football. Okay. So I'm going down to Yelp and I'm calling everybody up and nobody's picking up because it's Saturday morning. And then I get some jamoke somewhere who's like, yeah, I can do it for $30. And I'm like, I want to spend $19. Call you right back. All right. Keep calling. And I get jamoke number 2. And he's like, what? You got a quote for 30? I'll do it for 20. I'm like, all right, done. Let's do it. And now check the honey, I got the guy coming Tuesday. Great. He comes, he drives on my lawn, he jacks up everything, he over fertilizes. I got dollar spots everywhere. I got stuff happening, my tree's dying, but that's how we live and work. Now you seem more intentional about the way you plan things.
Yeah.
I live more in reactive mode. And I think people who live in reactive and who are over reliant on the power of the Googles, this is how we live now. And we want everything now. We want everything yesterday. We want everything super cheap. And I don't know how we recondition ourselves, but that's what I believe is going on right now in the marketplace.
Because I think the world has told you that everything is at your fingertips. Now it's DoorDash. There's a few other Uber Eats where you can order everything from your phone, right?
Damn Alexa commercials.
Yeah. You don't have to get in the car and go pick up dinner from a grocery store or a restaurant, or go and dine there. Everything is ordered from your phone, and sometimes in record time and sometimes not. So I think that having that information at your fingertips, you get used to things. You get used to having everything right there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being reactive occasionally. I mean, yard work is one of those things that, if you're a working professional and you're taking good care of your customers each day, sometimes does become last minute. I found a place with an HOA, so I could just pay a high fee because I didn't want to spend the time doing that on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. But I think responsiveness is very, very important. When I worked on the RMC side for a number of years, I made sure to make that my number one mission, right? Even if I don't know the answer right that minute, I'm going to be responsive. And it works a lot. You'd be surprised. There were very few issues that were not worked out because you were responsive. Even if you don't have the answer someone needs right then, hearing a live voice does put people at ease. Even if that landscape guy is like, Ben, I'm going to call you back in a half hour and we're going to get this taken care of for you today. Doesn't that make you feel a little bit better? You can give
the fact he says today makes me feel better.
Yep.
But the half hour, I might be like, I'm going to keep making some calls.
Sure. But then you got that backup that's calling back.
Because I got kickoff at noon and I really got to get this knocked out.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask, have you found a lot of service providers that are able to come to your lawn that quickly? And that short of
it's funny, it's usually the worst ones, right?
Well,
who's available today or tomorrow? The people that stink, have terrible reputations, can't build a business, but they pick up their phone on Saturday. And that's actually what we're talking about. People call me up, they want to move in June. I'm like, give me a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice.
Yeah.
But then I got some guy next door who's got a U-Haul that he painted over, or maybe didn't, and he's willing to do you tomorrow.
And I think this industry turned me into a little bit of a planner because I saw how much better the services that you get when you do plan things out even a few weeks. So that kind of trained me to be as much of a planner as I could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's smart. It's smart. We got a couple of comments here. Let's see here. Aaron Flores, sorry if I missed it, but curious if you are seeing real estate shops combining apartment locating with traditional residential transactions.
I've seen it a little bit. Some do, some don't. I mean, you have services, places that will do that, but we'll still charge for it. So if you have a transferee that's looking for that, service they're not going to have to use their money for, then you're not. But I haven't seen it a lot, at least not in our market yet, but maybe some colleagues have.
Roy Ramirez, I found that the millennials I know who have gotten service from Google or Yelp have not gotten great service when they use a guy I know and are like, I'm calling you for referrals from now on. Have not gotten great service. Then they use a guy I know and are like, I'm calling you for referrals. So Rory is that trusted source for his friends.
Totally.
They're like, call Rory. Rory knows the guy.
I mean, being a trusted source, regardless of what generation you are, I think is still really important because the internet is not perfect and reviews are reviews. You don't know who put them there. You don't know if they were planted. You don't know if they were orchestrated. But hearing from someone a trusted advisor or a friend that, what direction you should go does carry a lot of weight. And we do that a lot within our own office, actually.
Well, and that's like the Tim's top 10 you did, right? It's like,
right.
These are a curated top 10 XYZs.
Totally.
From me personally. And if you're like me and you like what I like, you'll like this. And totally. and I use this all the time. I use this just, let's talk about Yelp, right? So I can go on Yelp, I can go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and I can give it 4 stars.
Totally.
I can go to McDonald's and I can give it 4 stars. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
I don't know, So it's like that's the problem. I mean, totally right. Alina Anderson, delay. Aaron Flores, great point. Everyone has different preferences. Thanks, Alina. So I don't know where all this leaves us, this rant, but I think the idea of having a trusted source and maybe a curated source is very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to ask you about referral fees.
Sure.
And I want to ask you, I hear murmurings and rumblings and people like, oh, these referral fees are killing the business. And, they keep going up and we can't live like this and we can't transact like this. But, I mean, but the system still works. So, I mean, there's a lot of realtors that love the business still, so help me understand, why might realtors still want to do it?
Well, here's the thing, in the world of relocation, it's always important, there's a role for everybody in the food chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having worked on the RMC side for a long time, I know the importance of being a solid supplier and providing a high level of service and the importance of those referral fees. And for me personally, I think it's exciting to get to establish those relationships with the RMCs, with those transferees, with the various accounts that they have. And so establishing the personal relationship is really the number one goal. The referral fee, I mean, they're the ones sending you the business, so they should receive the referral fee. In terms of the agent standpoint, I really don't have trouble with it with my team. My team is very excited for any new opportunity. So they see it as, well, it's business I wouldn't have had, and it's also a sphere I wouldn't have had. Several of my agents have met clients through that transferee. If you work hard and you really went over that transferee and give them top level service, they could tell their neighbor or someone they meet at a supermarket how great their experience was. And then you're that referral from a trusted advisor.
Let me just hop in real quick, and I want to hear you talk more about this, but let me hop in real quick and say, that makes perfect sense to me, because home sale is not a benefit offered to everybody. It's offered to a select population. The home values are normally much higher. I hear some statistics, from some mortgage companies like $400,000. So it's definitely a different echelon. It brings you into new neighborhoods, and it introduces you within companies. And these new people in the neighborhood, they network a lot. I know as a new person in my neighborhood and new to Michigan, my wife, the first thing she did is she joined the Moms Club of South Lyon. She joined Stroller Strides of Walled Lake. She joined this new gym. She volunteered for this. And you know who else was in all those groups? They were all transferees or assignees from other countries or other parts of the U.S. And they're all lost, and then none of them have a network, and they're all looking for recommendations. Yeah. And so that's all about sphere of influence. I think is strategically actually a really valid point.
Totally. And then that business that they get is on, there's no referral fee on that future business that they receive. So that's kind of exciting for them. But also, I mean, my agents, it's an elite group. Not everyone is able to be an agent on a relocation team. A lot of organizations, including my own, do have requirements for it. So our agents get really excited about it. And a lot of times, if you're getting a referral from an RMC or from a corporation with the referral fee attached, it's someone that is going to be moving. If you get an internet lead, you have a very low percentage of conversion. So they get excited. When I'm sending out business, I want to get them excited about it. One of my favorite things about this role is seeing the success that my team has, helping my team build their business. And so if I know that, hey, this is going to be a great opportunity, the referral fee is almost, it's still there, but it's almost irrelevant, because to get to open that door and have that transaction and meet a new sphere of contacts and grow your business that way, that's really exciting and can be the backbone of your business.
Now, let me ask you, for the corporate mobility managers out there who are watching, maybe, what are some tips you might have or insights you might have for them, maybe around policies or around ways that they can offer benefits to their transferees, or just any tips for the global mobility manager?
I think my biggest tips are really have a great team of suppliers make sure that your suppliers are people that will bend over backwards for you. I think having a robust policy is important, but when you have a group of individuals that you know are going to work really hard and represent you, and you're able to form that team bond, even though it is very much, a vendor relationship, if you will, I think that it becomes very mutual. I really like the relationships that I have with all of my mobility professionals, because it's like we're a team together. I know that, I'm a supplier for them, but I'm so excited to get to partner with them and be an enhancement of their program that, we're excited about the relationship and the opportunity.
What types of policies? I mean, are you seeing home sale go down, or have you seen any change in policy over the last few years?
I think I've seen less of like the GBOs, less of the true buyout transactions, just because of the liability associated with it. Granted, there's a lot of steps to protect companies, right? Like the appraisals and the inspections and things like that. But at the end of the day, once your transferee moves on, if something happens, there's a large amount of financial liability that could fall to you. So I still see a lot of, the marketing assistance, and of course the BBOs. So I do still see quite a bit of those. I think it also depends on the organization and where they're located. I feel like for some of our companies here, they dangle the carrot of you get to live in Colorado, but I still see quite a few of the BBOs, just not as much as the GBOs.
Are you seeing some of those being shifted into other types of benefits around real estate? Like, is there a middle ground or another alternative that you're seeing?
I've seen a lot shifted into temporary living. Sometimes you're really trying to persuade someone to make the move, and they're either on the fence or they need a little bit of time. Maybe their sale is in a depressed market where it's going to take longer for their home to sell, and they need that home to sell before they can purchase in the destination city. So I've seen extended temporary living actually is what I see the most.
And like you say, extended like past 60 days or like 60 days?
Yeah. Or maybe they'll do, like, instead of extending temporary living due to the cost, they might do, a certain amount of rent reimbursement up to a capped amount that will help offset their, duplicate housing costs.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the temp living could be $4,000 a month versus they could go from a rent reimbursement of like $2,000 or something like that. Yeah,
totally.
Do you see the demand for rent in your market for like houses? Like, are there a lot of houses? Is there inventory for houses for rent? That was something I was challenged with when I moved to Detroit with 1.5 kids. I was in a house. I don't want to live in an apartment. I want a house.
Totally.
It was hard for me to find houses. The stuff was old out here and it just wasn't updated, and there wasn't a lot of it. Would you have some of those challenges there? I mean, what's inventory like for rent?
We do. It's much easier to find an apartment. There's so many more opportunities, so many new apartments going in, really at every corner. Finding a house is a bit more challenging. We have our MLS does list them as well, but it's harder. They're going to be more expensive, and it depends on the property. If you want, brand new property,
a lot more pocket listings.
A few. I think that's the easiest way, if through word of mouth, because people that are renting out their home, or a good property management company, right? Because they want a company to handle all of that work for them, or through word of mouth, because they just don't want to list it on their own online. Some people do, but they want someone that they trust managing that process. But it's really hard when people come and say, "Oh, I want, a house," and they start listing their specifications. It's like, gosh, that's a very low inventory for that property here. Or if you find it's going to be further away in the suburbs, and you are going to have a longer commute, especially for the type of space you may want. So,
let's be honest. They're saying, I want to rent that house on HGTV in a walkable downtown. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. And you talked about like being out by the airport, right? So if you want the land, we've talked about that earlier, you and I, if you want more land, you're going to be out further away from the city, but then that's going to add to your commute time. So if you're okay with extended commute times because you want a home that encompasses, everything that you need and you like space, then that's okay. If you are someone that doesn't want to be in a car at all, and depending on where you work, not to say that no one works in the suburbs, because some people do, then you have to take that into consideration. I always talk about the commute times with transferees on our initial call.
Alina Anderson DeLay brings up a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing for her, so I'm hoping maybe you do.
Okay.
She says it's interesting how no one talks about the relocation trends of Gen X professionals. And then she does one of these emojis.
Well, it's funny. I actually did it was a radio interview. Someone in one of my, she is runs a career service, and she's a Gen Xer, and she talked a lot about her generation, that Gen Xers like their toys. You know what I mean? They need their 3-car garage because they might have ATVs and skis and or they have, an extra car, and maybe they have a car that they've restored that they take to the mountains on the weekend. So that's something that we can certainly chat about. And I actually do get quite a few Gen Xers, and there are people that may not mind the longer commute times because they want the extended square footage. They want each of their kids to have their own bedroom. They want the big backyard and the pool and the 3-car garage, and they want, maybe, a nicer home and a larger home.
It's funny you bring up the toys thing. So in my neighborhood, all the Gen X. So my neighborhood has a lot of Gen Xers, and a lot of boomers, right?
Yeah.
And the Gen Xers have a lot of golf carts.
Yeah.
And they have jet skis, and they have, to your point, right? And so I got me a golf cart, and I love it. And I'm borderline millennial Gen X or whatever, but yeah, they love just riding around on their toys and like repairing stuff. And I'm like, the last generation that knows how to use a wrench, and it just fascinates me.
Yeah.
But no, they do. They have like workbenches in their basement and stuff. I don't know about any of that, but no, that's interesting. I think that's an interesting characterization. I asked Alina for some examples because, she's right though. I think generally speaking, well, and I've heard Gen X is one of the smaller generations population wise. So
yeah.
Give us a pass a little bit, but millennials is a big generation. Boomers is a big generation. X is kind of in the middle. Rory says there's a lot of houses to rent here in the Chicago suburbs, but it is hard finding them listed anywhere. Rory, they're pocket listings. Rory, call Tim for a connection in Chicago. He might be able to introduce you to somebody that has a lot of pocket listings.
Well, I think relocation director is a pillar of the company and a pillar of the community.
A relocation director is a pillar of the company, a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Aaron Flores says the work hard, play hard generation, Gen X. Yeah. I dig it. Tim, we're running out of time here. This has been a lot of fun. What any final closing words for our audience?
I think if you're good at what you do and you work hard and you really treat your organizational pocketbook as if it's your own and treat your customers and clients as if they're your own friends and family, you'll be successful.
Your organizational pocketbook as if it's your own. Great words of wisdom to live by, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on Love and Relo. I do appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your ideas. It's been great having you.
Thank you, Ben.